we've talked all about this, we've had some very similarities between these two teams in terms of their team history, in terms of the current team. They both made some decent acquisitions that should severely affect either side of the ball. You guys have a new offensive coordinator. We have a new defensive coordinator. Very talented receiving core. Quarterbacks that are going to be comparable forever. I think it truly is a perfect week one matchup between these two teams. Two teams that I don't think really anybody would argue that they are outside the top 10, in like at worst top 12 teams. The both of them should be very entertaining, in a game that we've been looking forward to pretty much ever since the schedule was released. So man, I'll give you the floor first. Being a Chargers fan, being off the defeat that you saw last year, what are you most excited to see when the Dolphins and Chargers finally meet up on Sunday?
Most excited to see, I would say probably because he was electric the last time. I would probably say I want to see how Herbert performs again this game. I know I guess it's tough to be like, oh, he doesn't win games and stuff like that. But I just want to see how this offense is with Kellen Moore. Like, I just want to see baseline. Okay, what do we need to improve? And I know week one it probably takes a few weeks because you don't play the starters. Well, most of the teams don't play the starters in the preseason, so you got to get full game speed. You got to get into it and stuff like that, and that may take a few weeks for a few teams. So I'm just excited to see Herbert and Kellen Moore, and I want to see him call more audibles at the line. Like, I just want to see him change it up because what I used to see from the past few years, he was getting two plays. One play he would kill, other play he's going with the next play. So it's like I need a little bit more of a play calling tree, if for lack of a better term, like so that he can basically move people around, bro. Like I just want him to get more keys, like more reign of the offense. In my opinion, that's what I'm most looking forward to.
And Donovan, I'm just going to throw the same thing right over to you. I mean, you and I have been talking for months. This is our 15th live stream. We've been talking about all these what ifs, all these things that we would like to see. You know, trying to project how the season's going to go. But week one on the road, have to wait till week 3 for our very first home game. Again, finally meaningful football. As a Dolphins fan, now what are we most excited to see week one?
So it's gonna sound weird, maybe not to you, but to most people out there. I'm actually excited to see how this defense does. We know the Chargers, obviously, an elite quarterback, elite receivers. They just drafted, like we talked about, a first-round receiver to go along with their already 2 elite receivers. This is probably the healthiest these two teams are going to be going against each other throughout this entire year. Last year, both teams were extremely banged up when they played. And, so I'm excited to see what we can do healthy against healthy. And defensively, I want to see a pass rush that can get to the quarterback without having to blitz. I want to see a secondary that can actually play zone coverage, because I promise you, every time last year that I saw us drop back into zone, I wanted to murder Josh Boyer. It was just awful. No one knew their assignments. No one knew anything. And our linebackers in coverage were absolutely horrible. Now we have David Long Jr. in the middle, and he's kind of going to be more of the coverage guy over Jerome Baker, who, absolute just... He's like the linebacker version of Noah Igbinoghene, where he just doesn't get his head around at all. And like good coverage, but don't get your head around, you're going to give up a catch. It just is what it is.
Situational awareness, positional awareness on the field is lacking with him.
Yes. And, then how are we going to do without Ramsey? How deep is this corner room actually going to be? Because we know that the Chargers offense, obviously Austin Eckler can line up anywhere on the field. Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, who's going to be on who? I'm going to expect probably Cater's going to be on Keenan Allen and Xavier Howard on Mike Williams. Is Cam Smith going to be in there somewhere? Who is he going to be on? Is it going to be Eli Apple? Like, I want to see how this defense performs against such an elite offense. We're supposed to jump up back into the top 5 defenses, especially with Vic Fangio. I am excited to see what we can do.
And so with that, man, and looking at the Dolphins, we've looked at your team. What do you think the Dolphins provide the most threat at to the Chargers?
Speed. Just point blank period. Like you guys utilized it so well last year that I mean you guys came back from what 28 in the Baltimore game. What was the score? Going into the fourth,
we
or
had
like
two separate 21-point deficits. It was 21-0, and then it was 28-7. But three scores.
It was just bomb after bomb, and like I know our game last year, like we did well putting quote unquote like a roof on it. But I mean, man, you can't. Tyreek and Waddle, like those are two of the fastest guys in the NFL. You can't really, you can scheme as much as you want, but like these guys they're just talented athletes. You can't really do much in terms of slowing them down. Now, I mean that's pretty much it. That's just the speed is the main concern for me. Again, like I hope this offseason, like we get some continual progression from where we were like the last 4 weeks of last season. So like the last 4 weeks, I think we were a top 10 defense, if I'm not mistaken. So hopefully that translates this.
And we somehow got faster. For the Chargers threats, bro, it's crazy. Like Mike Williams can go up and make any catch. He makes a 50-50 ball, an 80-20 ball. So that's one thing I'm concerned about. Like, especially since it's probably going to be, he's the biggest receiver on the field besides Quinn Johnson. So he's easily 3 or 4 inches taller than Xavier Howard. So if Herbert's able to put a ball up in the air, a 50-50 ball, I'm sorry, Xavier's not going up to get that. Keenan Allen, the best route runner in the league, if one of the best, if not the best in the league. And so how is Kader Kohou, an undrafted free agent last year? He played really well. Is he going to be able to lock up Keenan Allen? That's probably why we're going to play a lot of zone in this game, but it's like the threats all around. And then Austin Eckler out of the backfield. Do we have the speed at linebacker? It's going to be a big question mark. We saw in preseason, now it's once again just preseason, but we weren't able to really get to the speedy running backs in preseason. So I'm curious to see that, like the threats that the Chargers give off is just, there's so many and it's all around. And then also Herbert, it's not like he doesn't have legs. Like he can use them, and who knows if he's actually allowed to finally use them in a Kellen Moore offense, kind of like what Dak did. So
it's going. Great point.
It's going to be. No, you're good. You're good. Like, because it's going to be crazy to kind of see the difference in this offense. I'm actually a little bit more worried about their offense this year than I was last year, because they're a lot healthier, a much better offensive coordinator, and your offensive line is actually somewhat intact for the first time in 2 years.
Yeah, and Justin Herbert looked so good last year. Like, we got to see that together, Donovan. We got to / had to see that together. And, I was definitely more in my era of, okay, is Tua really good enough? Like, that's when those thoughts, like, the previous offseason, they had crept in. And then around that point of the season, I'm like, okay, like this is when we finally get to see how good he is, because he had that stretch of going 5-0 against bad teams that I don't think a single one of them made the playoffs. And then the Chargers game was like that beginning of run of games where, okay, this is time to prove it. He then lost against the Chargers. He then lost against the 49ers. He lost against the Bills.
First.
Whatever it ended up being. But you know what I'm saying. It was that stretch of time in the year where I'm like, okay, now we get to see who Tua is. And then I got to see Justin Herbert look big, look strong, look mobile. He's not as accurate, but the ability to make plays on the move, the ability to take a shot and just continue rolling, seeing that durability, seeing just all those traits really scared me as a Dolphins fan. I was watching that game, and as the game went on, my belief just was sucked more and more out of me. Like the offense, for one reason or another, didn't look good, whereas the Chargers offense, which is being held together by tape, by glue, it works, and that's because Herbert himself is able to be a playmaker. So with that being said, besides the two quarterbacks, I'll ask this to Donovan, and then Manon, I want to hear your thoughts on it. Donovan, can you name me one X factor player not the quarterbacks, not Tyreek Hill for the Dolphins, not Keenan Allen for the Chargers. Can you name me one X factor that you think will be a big difference maker for the game on Sunday?
Derwin James.
Okay.
So you mentioned, don't mention Tyreek Hill, don't mention Keenan Allen. I'm going to name a defensive player. If Derwin James can keep, kind of like what we talked about, the lid on, like, don't let the Dolphins receivers get past you. If one of the best safeties in the league, can keep a cap on it, that's going to be kind of scary. Now, the Dolphins we talked about their speed. They have a lot more speed than they did last year, and that's kind of like scary to think about. But they also held us pretty in check last year. And can they do it again? Derwin James actually playing this game. I don't think he played last game. I don't think he played last year.
I do not remember.
I did. I remember thinking that we were going to go in there and win because of it. After that game, by the way, I just want to say this. You had depressed Dolphins fan, which was Jacob, and denial Dolphins fan, which was me.
Oh, that is a very accurate representation of the two of us. I would love if there was anybody from, remember our post-game live stream where
oh my God.
we were to be fair, before we continue, we were all a little tipsy, and I took the microphone and so it was me, Adam, and Donovan sitting on a couch, and I took the microphone. The camera's like about 15 feet away. I just took the microphone and I got like 3 feet away from the camera and just went on like a 5-minute rant, and then I started singing the Waddle Waddle song, and he waddled away. Yeah, I was very depressed. I was very down bad.
Yeah.
Donovan, how about on the Dolphins side of things? Who do you think is that one particular guy that can have a massive impact on the game?
I'm going to go ahead and say Kader Kohou. Going back to the defensive side of the ball, because we don't know if Teron Armstead's playing or not, so I would say him. But Kader Kohou is going to be he's probably going to be on Keenan Allen, more than likely, just because of the size difference. He is a small corner. Keenan Allen's a smaller receiver, so that just makes sense to have him on Keenan Allen. So Keenan Allen, like I said, one of the best route runners in the league. If we can keep him in check and, Mike Williams limit his 50-50 balls, I think we're going to be pretty good on defense and maybe squeak out a win.
Yeah, man, and same question to you. Who are your guys on for both teams? For the Dolphins, you can start with the Chargers, being that's your team. Who are the guys that you think is going to have the biggest impact that isn't one of the star guys?
Well, I actually give you both of my guys in one, and I have it as a matchup. I have Rashawn Slater versus Bradley Chubb.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I missed Rashawn Slater so much last year. It's insane. We, like you said, we were kind of putting our O-line was basically just like multiple puzzle pieces put together, kind of taped together with like just tape. Like we were just barely hanging on by a thread. And Bradley was a great addition for you guys last year, in my opinion. And him being reunited with Vic is key in my opinion. He's gonna be more, I guess, accustomed to the system and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, I can't. It's so understated how much I miss Rashawn Slater last year, because he's a top 5 left tackle, and he was since his rookie year. So, and left tackle for right-handed quarterbacks, left tackle is the biggest.
Yeah,
it's the best position or the most important position on the O-line. So. That matchup for me is going to be key. I think whoever wins that matchup, probably that team wins the game.
I'm very excited to wait. Well, let me give mine first. But before I say that, I'm very excited to see before I get into that. I'm very interested to see who is the guy on that side of the defensive line. Who is the guy who I'm sure is going to be a rotation and a bunch of different guys. But obviously the main two guys are Chubb and Jalen Phillips, and then you can't forget about Emmanuel Ogbah. Just see the different type of guys that they throw at him. So Rashawn Slater was actually my guy too for the Chargers. For me, it's just whoever plays the other safety position. Like that is still up in the air. It could be Deshaun Elliott, it could be Brandon Jones. We're going to see how that ends up being by the time the game starts. It's probably going to be a little bit of both because Brandon Jones coming back from his injury. But the safety position is going to be so necessary just to keep the lid on the offense. We know, like you said, Manning, earlier, this offense last year was just kind of made fun of on the basis of they didn't know how to throw the ball beyond the first down line. It was just such a bland cookie cutter offense that didn't have a lot of spice, didn't have a lot of motion, didn't have, pretty play action plays. Like it just is what it was. Now they're going to be able to probably, assuming they're going to be able to take advantage of Herbert's athleticism, of his ability to extend plays, and his ability to hit balls over the top now that he has a clean offensive line in front of him and a full assortment of wide receivers on the outside. The ability to keep the wide receivers from going over the top and getting behind you. We know Javon Holland's going to be that guy. Whoever else is that other safety, it's going to be a massive opportunity for them to prove themselves over the other one. Whether it be Brandon Jones gets to start, proving that he's healthy and he's capable of playing at a higher level than we saw last year when it comes to driving back in coverage, because got that nickname of Blitz Boy, but we know he's been working on that in the offseason, tried to refine those zone skills. Or Deshaun Elliott, hey, this guy goes down, okay, it's my job until he proves that he's better than me. So you go out there, you give yourself the best foot forward for the remainder of the season. Donovan, with that being said, now you can go into whatever you want to ask.
I was going to ask because it was relevant at the time. You mentioned Bradley Chubb as the Dolphins' X factor. So are you more afraid of Bradley Chubb or Jalen Phillips on the defensive end?
I wouldn't say it's like a afraid thing, because I've seen what Jalen Phillips can do. But it's just that matchup that first of all, I haven't seen Rashawn play in over a year. So it's like I want to just see how he is. A bicep injury, it's not going to affect the way he moves laterally and stuff like that. But I'm just curious to see if he can knock some rust off rather quickly. And I mean, Bradley Chubb is pretty good competition to do that against. So it'll be a good test. Yeah. And but again, Jalen, full respect to Jalen Phillips. It's great find by you guys, honestly. So yeah, I mean, your defense is not one to just brush off. Like, it's not a bad defense. So it's there's everyone, and especially when Ramsey comes back, it's like, oh, like yeah. now we have some problems here. So it's like
yeah. Go ahead, Donovan.
I was telling to Jake, saying to Jacob, right when the Jalen Ramsey injury happened, I'm like, the only really receiving cores that we have to worry about between now and when Ramsey comes back is the Chargers and the Eagles. Between now and then, like the way our schedule plays out, after that, when Jalen Ramsey comes back, we kind of have a decent, bunch there, but no one really has more than just one great receiver. So yeah, that was what I had to say.
Yeah, and we've talked about all this talent on both teams, and nobody on either side could deny how good the other team is coming into this. It's what you want to see with football. You want to see one team at their best against another team at their best. Dolphins, obviously, at the very least, will be without Jalen Ramsey, but cross your fingers that Terron Armstead is going to play, and a few other guys that have been on the injury report as of late. With all of this being said, it is now time to make our official predictions. And Manon, as the guest on the show, I will give you the courtesy of going first. What do you think? Who's going to win? What's the score going to be? Let us hear it.
I appreciate that. So I will go with my Chargers winning. It'll be 31-28.
I mean, that'd be a fun game. That scoreline's fun. That scoreline's fun. So, before we go into and explaining, Donovan, just go ahead with yours.
I'm going to say the Miami Dolphins, obviously. I'm going to go ahead and say 35-24.
I'm going to go with a high score as well because I don't want to be a boring little annoying kid. I'm going to put it at Donovan, what was that score margin that you said?
I said 35-24. So
11. I'm going to say it's going to be within a score. I'm not sure what the betting line is, but I imagine it's very close. Chargers are probably, I'd probably say the Chargers are like 1.5, 2.5 point favorites. I'm not really sure. I think the Dolphins are going to win. Shocker. Dolphin fan saying the Dolphins are going to win. Charger fan saying Chargers are going to win. I'm going to say the Dolphins are going to win 38 to... I'll give it a field goal as well. I'll go 38-35. I say that the Dolphins score on the final drive with a minute left, and Herbert comes out and throws an interception.
That would be the greatest thing ever.
The line is actually Chargers favored by 3.
3? Okay. 1.5, 2.5, 3. Yeah.
That's pretty much like the home field advantage, ain't it?
Yeah. 6 points.
So...
6 points is the flip, so it'd be +3 one way, +3 the other. If it was,
okay,
on the road.
Yeah.